I can point especially at President Edgar Chagwa from the time he started, from the time he came to India, and when the President of India traveled to Zambia, evidently we can point at the flyover bridge. That is purely an Indian government-sponsored project. And you can point at it, you can see it. We also have the 650 health posts all over the rural area. Those are sponsored by the Indian government through a government bank. Exim Bank is an Indian government-funded bank. And besides that, we have the Mahatma Gandhi School. We also have, coming up soon, is the Mahatma Gandhi Conference Center.
Sure.
And there are also other programs. Like in 2017, there were 20 health personnel who came for training so that they can support those 650 health posts. And these are all over the rural areas. We have Indian government-sponsored programs under ITEC, International Corporation, where especially health personnel are trained. And India has been very magnanimous in supporting Zambia. Also, we also have medical camps where we are building up capacity. As you know, President Dr. Edgar Chagwa supported, was heavily supported, especially after he appointed a counselor for health. We've had a lot of skills transfer by the Indian government through the private sector and public sector. And as you can see, at the moment, we are trying to bring Zambia to an international hub, especially in terms of medical camps, pharmaceuticals, which are sprung all over Lusaka. In a few years to come, God willing, we find that Zambia will be the hub of SADC. If you notice, we've had people traveling from Malawi, from Zimbabwe, coming to attend the clinic in Zambia. So we are working towards ensuring that Zambia ups its game in terms of medical tourism, because we would like to reduce the pressure from government of sending people to India. And I can assure you quite a number of medical personnel, especially the lower ranks, the technicians, have come to India for training. So you shall soon see a very good medical center of excellence, especially at UTH. That's where we've started, and we shall move outwards into the other big hospitals.
That's something very, important. The point you've mentioned, I think, for me, is very profound. The point of, the health system in our country is something that, of course, you've talked about. Other developments are issues to do with the roads. Many of our people back home here in Zambia have really appreciated the roads that are being, constructed by our colleagues from India. Very, strong, if you wish, like that. And I'll take you back again to the health system of our country, because we know that India, of course, they might have started, this technology or their development way before Zambia was born. And yet today we see more of our people, when they are unwell, some of them, they are flown to India, something that is very important and very appreciated, meaning that we are learning from our colleagues from India. What is the Indian government with regards to maybe in the long run in helping Zambia establish, such kind of, hospitals that are in India today, so that maybe along the way we should be able to stand on our own as a country? Because these are the two countries that have got a very good relationship, as you've mentioned in your preamble. So this means that whatever achievements they have today, it is possible that even we in Zambia, through their help, we can able to achieve that. What is the Indian government saying about it?
Yeah, I've already mentioned, Mr. Piri, that from 2017 to date, we've had medical camps quarterly. A group of Indian doctors come to UTH to conduct medical camps and in turn build up capacity. I'll tell you something about Zambia.
Sure.
We have quite a good cadre of trained doctors. What we just need to do is just up the skills, which we are doing. I think that you arrive to the fact that the Vice President, Madam Inonge Winner, at one time launched the Little Angels operation, where a few children were worked on in terms of cardiology issues. About 4 children. And the Zambia saved a colossal amount of $30,000. And these camps also help the Zambian health personnel to upskill and also deputize health provisions. Medical doctors have been deputized, other personnel, technicians in the medical field have also been assisted. And that skill, once they are trained, when they take it back to Lundazi, and I'll tell you, like those 20 technicians that traveled to India for training for 6 months, most of them came from rural areas. Right. So you can imagine that that is an ongoing program. Of course, some of these issues are not known, but we have started with the rural health centers, and the idea is to ensure that we have a cadre of technicians, medical technicians, in those 650 hospitals and other already established government hospitals, so that those people who come for training here in India can now go and train their colleagues. That is how the program has been rolled out. And you talked about possibilities of building a hospital. I think that the plan is to continue with upskilling of medical personnel so that they can be in those hospitals. At the moment, you have that hospital which has come up near the airport. The idea is to bring medical camps quarterly and to deputize the already existing doctors and medical personnel, so that in the long run we'll have a huge cadre of technically trained in machine operations, especially that India is very technically alive, you see. So those are issues that are being done. And I can summarize to say that entails a lot of skills transfer, and also the Zambian government is in the process of procuring modern machinery, and the more modern hospitals have been coming up. Those same rural health centers are supporting the other bigger district hospitals. So infrastructure development, especially in the health sector, will be highly supported by the Indian government. And this has started and is an ongoing program.
Right. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for that submission. we proceed to back again or to the legacy of a man who connected Zambia to India, a man who created that hub between Zambia as well as India. And now you did mention in your preamble, Commissioner, that Mahatma Gandhi, or his message was to have a peaceful India. And that was the message that he inculcated to all his citizens of India up to date. I'm fully aware that India already has had about 17, presidents from its independence until where we are today. And all these people have been riding on his legacy of preaching peace to the people of India. Let's now get back into the ground regarding how the ordinary citizens in India are mourning one super Ken, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. How is the mood from the ordinary citizens, apart from those people that are in government, from the president, who've conveyed the message from the president, as well as other, dignitaries? Let's now go to a common Indian person. What are they saying regarding the demise of KK, and also the message of peace that their founding president preached to them, Mahatma Gandhi?
I'll tell you something, like I already mentioned earlier. When the common Indians, the ordinary Indians, heard that KK had passed on, we found a huge queue at the mission. People coming to pay their condolences. People have continued coming in to sign the book of condolences. People have continued sending letters of condolences, especially those that lived in Zambia. Culturally, Indians are very much like Africans. Their lifestyle is communal, just like we are in Zambia. So when somebody well-known, a big figure like KK passes on, the mood, I did mention initially that the mood of most Indians, especially those that knew him, was very somber. They have cried for him. And we've had newspapers, TV stations, private and public, talking about KK, how he was a Ghanaian student. We've had magazines coming over to put up stories about the life of KK. So this is the man that has been mourned as if he is Indian. I can safely say KK established a relationship where people felt related to him.
Right. Still on the same, Commissioner, I know that you've given a summary of, KK as well as India, or KK as well as Mahatma Gandhi. So you entertain me. I'll keep on, bringing in a few questions for the sake of the majority Zambians that might have just joined us right now, because remember, others are watching us on Facebook, so we wouldn't want to leave anyone behind. I will still go back to the issue of peace, that KK believed much, that the peace that KK really preached. Remember, for him it was love your neighbor as you love yourself. For him it was about do unto others as you want them to do unto you. That was KK for you. And it's the same that was a similar message to Mahatma Gandhi. Back to KK as well, or back on the issue of peace, we know that KK was among the founding leaders or founding fathers that went to form the African Union, or which was formerly known as the Organization of African Union, And today, by the grace of God, we have a representative by the name of Emmanuel Mwamba, who is presiding the affairs in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. And the agenda was very clear. The agenda of the AU is well defined. KK, among others, they wanted to have a united Africa. They wanted to have a one continent which was going to have borderless or no borders at all. They wanted to have an African continent where we are going to be using one currency so that we should be able to depend on ourselves. This is a message, or this is a legacy that was founded by our former leaders. So as we speak to you right now, as I speak to you right now, meaning that all these leaders, the founding fathers of the AU, are gone. But that message of peace, that legacy of peace, still remain with us. You can go further, Commissioner, if you wish, to talk about the people that he worked close with. You can talk about Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. You can also go to people like Patrice Emery Lumumba. You can name them. Joshua Onyongolo Nkomo of Zimbabwe, among other people that really worked with him. Their agenda was well defined. It was about having a united and peaceful continent. Let's now talk about the peace that we talk about. Why do you think that as Zambians we should be able to maintain on the same path? Just from you now as Zambia's High Commissioner to India.
In emulating our founding father, I think you remember for some of us who lived for a short stint on the Copper Belt, not like was normal. Everybody was just Zambian.
Right.
We lived in harmony. And speaking for myself, when my mother was not at home, she had gone to work, the mothers who were around would offer you food. We didn't know color or creed, we didn't know tribe. But of late, people will point fingers and say this one is Bemba, this one is Runde, this one is what? You see, I think that is a thing that we should try and bury by emulating President Kaunda's humanism. Ubuntu. I am because you are. I am because we are. If you don't have food and I have food, I should be able to share with you. And in search of peace, peace is very important. I'll take you back to the Bible. You remember those two women who were fighting for a baby?
Sure.
Two mothers claimed they are the mothers to that baby. But the owner of the mother, in search of peace, said, give her. The other one said, no, cut the baby into two. But for the sake of salvaging the life, securing the life of that baby, the other one said, no, let her have the baby.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So the king, from that moment, noticed that no person who has the love of a baby or a child want to look after would want it to be cut. And the other person who said, save the baby, give her, was given the baby. And talking about India, India is united. It's a united front, despite having more than 500 tribes. India is a united front, despite having more than 300 gods. Of course, the major ones you get to hear about is maybe Islam, Hindu and the others, but they pray to more than 300 gods. But they are still united. So I think we can emulate. We need to relieve that platform, put up that platform which KK believed in, especially now that she's gone, especially for some of us who are running towards mid-50s and those who are above 60s. They are the elders of the country. I think they should start, or we should start to preach peace, Ubuntu, humanism. That is what President Kaunda stood for, and I think we should bring it back. And you see, in terms of economic diplomacy, people must know that peace, once we work towards peace, will attract more investors, and everybody would want to come to Zambia. Especially even now, people love to come to Zambia. The Indians, during the months of March, April, and May, when it's hottest, like now, April, May, June, they love to come to Zambia and view the Victoria Falls. So if we maintain our peace, we'll get prosperous. If we maintain our peace, we will we'll become an attractive bride because we are peaceful. But without peace, we can kiss investment in plan. We are only 73 tribes. India has 500, but they are peaceful. Why can't we emulate that example?
Indeed,
we have
peace.
Tanzania who have more tribes than us, but they are united. So let's get back to the drawing board and sing peace, 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 peace.
It's all about peace, as you mentioned, Commissioner, and still on the same path again. I do appreciate, because you've mentioned a lot of points, very important points, why you've mentioned on how KK managed to unite this country, and in your personal capacity as well, you feel that we need to emulate, we need to admire that which has been planted by our late founding president, or late founding father, Dr. KK. And you talked about the issue of tribalism, which for you feel that this has to be dissolved at all cost, or by all means. Very cardinal, if you ask me. And on the same aspect as well, in uniting this country, KK, one of the methods that he used was by introducing some reforms in which he made, for example, the transfer of some civil servants, each time we are recruited in government. For example, if you have a tribe of maybe, for example, one is a Bemba, was being transferred to maybe to Southern Province to go and establish himself in that particular area. If you were, for example, coming from the Southern Province, you were a Tonga, or you were a Luvale, you was transferring such kind of people or citizens to just across the country. His agenda was well defined, like we've said, was to have a united nation, to have a united force that will only see themselves as citizens of Zambia, not citizens of different colors or different tribes. Besides that as well, I know that you grew up maybe in that period of time in which, again, there was a policy of intermarriages where if you were, for example, I'm Piri here, you have to, I need to go and marry someone, maybe, for example, who is a Tonga, a Bemba. The agenda behind was to unite this country, as you mentioned, very important, Commissioner. Moving on, I know that we are already in an election period in which these, pockets of divisions are coming in because the political atmosphere is high. The temperature is high. People want to show themselves, say maybe they could be, the masters among others. How best can we unite as a country besides using our tribes, besides using our colors?
I'll tell you what. KK, during his tenure, condemned tribalism. ECL condemns tribalism. So, the onus is on the populace, like I already mentioned, that as leaders of today, once a president pronounces that I don't like tribalism, he's a Christian. He has showed the way. Why not follow suit? I think we should start to emulate and listen to what our leaders are saying. And I'll tell you something. When we don't have peace, nothing works. We have no peace. That means we are not united. When we talk about issues to do, for example, with climate change, or indeed the issues to do with clinical epidemiology challenges, these will only be fought when we are united, even in the hospital. If the doctors will overlook the nurses, if the headmaster will overlook the teachers, if there's no unity in any establishment, we won't move. So I think the head of state has shown the way. He has condemned tribalism. I think we need to follow suit. And go back to what example I gave you. If you want to raise the baby nicely, you won't kill it. And I want to emphasize that from the birth of Zambia, tribalism is not Zambian. It's some alien animal from outer space. Because when you look at me, my mother was Visa, my father was Tumbuka, Bemba. I got involved with Kaundas. What tribe am I? What tribe are my children? They are Zambians. Because you can't say Kota Tumbuka, Kota Bemba, Kota Visa. No. Zambians have always been known to move as a proud people, strong and free in one unit. Abash tribalism. We want peace.
As a national leader, commissioner, and also speaking as a parent, to many Zambians out there representing us in India, New Delhi, I want you also to emphasize the importance of forgiveness. This is something that most of our leaders have really, exhibited in the past, and we are a new generation now that are going to be presiding the affairs of Zambia from now going forward. And I want you to emphasize the importance of forgiveness, because I want to believe that KK, during his days on earth, he did exhibited forgiveness to the people that were perceived to be his enemies, the people that went to the extent of prosecuting him. For example, when KK came out of prison, for example, out of when he was convicted, or actually put in jail over the treason charges 2 years later after he lost power. You know, first of all, when he willingly handed over power to Frederick Chiluba in 1991, and then along the way was accused of having, you know, been the masterminder who had wanted to, you know, to overthrow Dr. FTJ. But besides all that, we saw forgiveness from KK when he came out of prison, where he stayed for about 5 months in prison, 5 months in jail over those allegations. When he came out very, you know, smiling, and it became a uniting factor from that time until his death last week on Monday. What could be the importance, should we learn from that man, and what could be the importance of forgiveness, forgiving one another? The message that came from KK, do unto others as you want them to do unto you, as well as love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah, correct. You're very correct. I'll tell you something. Forgiveness, first of all, Zambia has been pronounced. It's even in the constitution. We are a peaceful nation.
Sure.
And therefore, forgiveness should be a paramount. It should be our national anthem. It even, in the national anthem, it's very clear. All one, strong and free. Forgiveness is biblical, but let's be responsible as a people. Let's not just treat peace. Let us try to be peaceful. President Edgar Chagbalungu, as our current president and father of this nation, is a good example of such a person. Is following and treating in the same steps. He forgave GBM, forgave Kambwini, he forgave Mao's Stampa. The list is endless. It is there for all of us to follow. Why can't we do it? It has been done, we've seen it. Let's not ignore that fact. Some people may look at our president and say, no, he's just being weak, he should have a punch, he should have a hard blow. But I think he's a forgiving man. And he has put it there. Let us emulate his example. Let us try to be a brother's keeper. Peace is paramount. Even in a home, when there's no peace, love flies out of the window. If you are cruel to the children, they become rebellious. There's no peace, there's no unity. So why can't we do what the president is already showing us?
Besides sacrificing his life, KK, in ensuring that Zambia becomes independent, or in ensuring that Zambia attained its independence at that moment, 1964, October 24th, much of the efforts alongside other freedom fighters, the Mainza Chona, the Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, you can talk about the Sikota winner of today, among others, the late Grey Zulu, the man that just died recently. The much sacrifice from our former leaders, for me, something that we need to emulate, just like your statement or in your submission you've mentioned. But going further, Commissioner, it is also imperative that something that comes in when you go through or you read about KK, you come to discover that besides having sacrificed his life for us, the people of Zambia today, he also went a miles away to ensure that even the resources that Zambia had at that moment when Zambia got independence were equally sacrificed, were equally channeled to other neighboring countries like Zimbabwe, like Malawi, like South Africa, among other nations across. His aim was to help them to get or to gain that independence. Hence, there's something that perhaps I want to hear from you. If at all there's something that we need to learn from there, because really, away from his efforts, maybe shedding blood for the sake of having a mother Zambia today, he also went further to ensure that he utilized the little resources that Zambia had to help other neighboring countries to attain independence. What lessons are there, Commissioner?
Yes, you are very right. I emphasized, I hope I don't sound repetitive, Ubuntu. If I have food and I eat alone, you are starving, you shall die.
Right.
When I fall sick, who's going to look after me, even with my food? My food will not feed me, but if you are around, you will feed me. Ubuntu always will be paramount and not anything else. And the Bible says, blessed is the hand that giveth. If the president, if our founding father had decided to say, look, I am already independent, that is their own business. You know what we're going to have? We are a landlocked country. Angola was fighting. Mozambique was fighting. Zimbabwe was fighting. There was confusion in Congo. Apart from Malawi, Tanzania, and Zambia, everywhere else, even going further down to South Africa, there was fighting going on. You can imagine if President Kaunda had decided to just keep it to himself. Where would we be today? What was going to happen is, of course, people complained that he spent money in trying to create peace and independence for the surrounding countries. If he had not done that, actually there would have been more money used, because everybody who was fighting in their countries would have moved into Zambia. So it could actually have been a huge upheaval compared to the decisions he made. They didn't seem right, but I think in the end, we have a united SADC region, independent. I think peace is paramount. You can imagine, even speaking for India where we are, India helps its neighbors. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, all get assistance from India in search of peaceful neighborliness. If your neighbors are not peaceful, you'll be affected negatively. And I think that we need to commend the ideology that President Kaunda pushed of humanism, of Ubuntu. And because there is peace, today we see projects like the Kazungula Bridge. Why would I want to put a fence or a gate? Why would I break my wall fence and put a gate so that my neighbor's children can easily come in instead of using the road? That means there's peace. Today we see the Kazungula Bridge, which is an interlink of 3 or so countries. We export a lot of maize to our neighbors. We export electricity. So I can safely say that in one manner of thing, I think that Ubuntu from Zambians is still there, but we just need to enhance it. We are sharing, getting vaccines from well-wishers. It's not like they have too much. Even India gave us vaccines, but they have a population of 1.3 billion. They still gave away some of their vaccines so that we can also get vaccinated. And that is why we supported India and South Africa in their intellectual rights, because we know that once you scratch your friend's back, they'll scratch yours again. We need to practice and enhance the idea of being our brother's keeper. India has a huge population, 1.3 billion, and they needed the vaccines, but they were ready and they gave us some, so that at least some of our, at least no, half a loaf of bread is better than nothing. I think you know that, Mr. Piri.
Right. And in talking about humanism, that's a word that you've, kept on mentioning. That's, you've talked about, having a heart for other people, not only saving yourself, but also you need to ensure that if you are living well, your effort, your energy should be channeled to other neighbors so that even them, they can also strive to be at a level, or at least at the level where you are. And talking about humanism, we are seeing the aspect of, a leadership or a leader who did not focus much on himself, just like you've mentioned in your speech, Commissioner. This is a person that, during his time, was, much of his effort was to ensure that Zambia is grown, was to ensure that Zambia's economy, or every citizen rather, is educated. Hence the free education policy that he had, moving further as well. Something very interesting was when he left power, KK, he was discovered that he didn't have a house, despite having served in government for 27 years. This is a man that didn't have a personal house, and this is a person that others, according to the records, we need to go further maybe and research. Maybe we might come up with another figure. But we've been told that for now, when Keke was leaving office, he had only $8,000 in his account. And if you tell me, this is a story more like that of Jesus Christ, because Keke, we've been told that he didn't have a personal house, and then Jesus again is a person that never had a house. Even when he was born, or when Mary was about to give birth to Jesus, they didn't have a proper accommodation. They became stranded, only to be accommodated by, this king who had offered only a manger, a very dirty environment, but little did we know that Jesus Christ was the Messiah, was going to be a savior to this world today. Can we call that maybe KK was closer to that of the Messiah legacy? Who was KK on this aspect of leadership?
He was selfless. He was a parent. He was a true parent. I can tell you. Let's come and give an example of the family. Let's give an example of a family. If a mother, for example, you find when there's a little bit of food in the home, mothers who pretend that they've eaten, they'll give the children and they'll give the husband. That is, the parent should have some form of sacrifice. And I think, in the simplest terms, we need to look at leadership as parentage. You only wish good for your children and not for yourself. And it is just, sometimes these things come naturally, sometimes it's because of the community we were raised in. These are sometimes the inherent attributes in people. He was a selfless man. He got deep into the root of having to create a better Zambia, and he forgot about himself. It is selfless. And then, coming to India, I can give an example of India. India as a protectionist approach. They have the Make in India policy where they want to be self-contained.
Right.
And we, at one time, did the opposite. We went into privatization, and yet a big country like India is going the other direction, protectionist. They are self-contained. They make sure everything is manufactured within India. And what I have noticed of late, you have seen that there is a reinvention of what Kaunda put up. We have the coming back of IDC, trying to pick up national assets. We want to try and revamp Kazara, I think very soon, of course, would like to have people and the private sector flourish. But on the other hand, also, giving an example of India, they have their own companies. Even they have got national assets, and the private sector also is supported. In that regard, you find that you need to first develop yourselves and then develop others. We have the private sector who are supported by government, and on the other hand, government also has certain assets which they run as government. So in that way, we are two sides of one coin. The government, on the other hand, will support private sector, and private sector will also create synergies and linkages with public companies. And they are so protectionist with their Make in India campaign. So nothing comes in from outside. If in Zambia we are making dresses the way we are doing with Kafiwe Textiles, Mungushi Textile, nobody is allowed to bring in materials from outside. That's how it's done here. Perhaps those are some of the recommendations that we've made.
Right.
Where we've picked up certain good ideas, policies, which would like also to domesticate.
All right. I know, Commissioner, that time is not on our side, but I've got two questions for you before we conclude our program. The first question, I would want you now, as we are about to close, just to give an advice, a general advice to the current generation of leaders with regards to how best really can we emulate from KK once again. I know that we've talked about it, but I want to re-emphasize because we're about to close the show. And I know that again, that there is an emerging, a crop of leaders that have come in. Others want to aspire for political positions in and other areas. What makes a true leader, and what can make them to live to that legacy of KK? Just from you as High Commissioner to India.
I'll tell you something, Mr. Piri. Rome was not built in a day. You need experience, you need to give in a lot of sacrifice. Even, you can imagine, I'll give an example of a doctor. A doctor is one person, one profession, an engineer. They're in school, secondary school for 5 years, and then they go for training for 7 or 8 years. And they still, when they come out, they graduate, they're still called junior doctors. They soldier on, they get their experience until another time, maybe after 20 years, they are called professors. That is a good example of refined leadership, patience, learning as you stumble and fall. Speaking for myself, I was not just born and become a high commissioner. I ran to political office.
And that is my next question, actually. Commissioner?
When I was in my 30s.
Commissioner, that is actually my next question. My next, the final question, to find out who Judith Kapijinmpanga is, because I didn't ask you that in the preamble of the program. Deliberately, I thought of asking you towards the end of the program. Who is Kapijinmpanga? Who is today serving Zambia or the Zambian government in India, New Delhi? Just within, we need to go in the next 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pieri. You have to be resilient as you move, as you aspire for greater heights.
Right.
I ran for political office when I was in my mid-30s. And all I wanted to be was MP. Little did I know that after that, I was appointed as cabinet minister in charge of community development and social welfare.
Right.
And I was privileged later to also serve as Minister of Lands and Environment. I was further privileged to serve as Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, and Vocational Training. After that, there was a break. Then I was appointed as High Commissioner to Tanzania. I was further accredited to the East African Community, Great Lakes region, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and the Comoros, Lake Tanganyika Authority. I was further, it was humbling that I was later transferred to India, where I am also extra accredited to Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Singapore. And being here has been very eye-opening. And I think we've created a lot of linkages with India. We've done a lot of marketing. I am privileged to have a very good team. And like I emphasized, I'm grateful that the president appointed a medical doctor to be part of our team. From the time he was appointed, we have gained a lot of inroads into medical tourism, and we have reduced the number of patients that are coming into India, unless of course those that are privately sponsored, because we've negotiated with India to have quarterly camps. Doctors of several different disciplines come into Zambia quarterly, and our doctors deputize them, and we have skills transfer.
Right.
I think that I have tried to be honest, I have tried to be trustworthy, I have persevered. It has been a huge sacrifice, And also, I want to be grateful to God for having to be amongst those that are chosen.
All right.
And I want to also remind you, Mr. P, looking back at KK. KK dug the foundation, led the way. Others have followed and added on to what he put up. Currently, we have ECL, who is following suit. Is a Christian trying to reunite Zambia. Economies are bad everywhere. Even in India, currently, prices of commodities have soared.
Right.
Fuel has soared. I'll tell you, like in 2019, for example, air tickets was 800, return from India to Lusaka, it was 800. On KQ, sometimes $600. Today, it's 1,800, one way. So it is not just
Zambia alone.
In Africa or Zambia, but I think that we need to be resilient. We need to give support to our leaders. Even for us who are here, I think we need to work extra hard to ensure that the diplomat number one, our president, gains highlights, gains mileage in economic diplomacy.
All right, Commissioner, we have to go. Time is not on our side, but allow me to appreciate you for finding time to have this conversation with Muvi Television family, and also convey this message to the over 18 million Zambians that are watching us. Remember, others have been watching us on Facebook page, so we are grateful for your, of course, audience this evening. You've been an inspiration not only to Zambia, but I want to mention that you are an inspiration to the African continent, and I know that also the women folk are equally appreciating your patience as well as your resilience. We hope for the best, and I'm not sure if at all you are going to be the next KK in the next few years to come, or you are likely to be the next Mwalimu Nyerere, or maybe we say you'll be the next Kwame Nkrumah. Are you ready for that?
Thank you, Mr. Piri. I take those blessings.
Right. Thank you so much. We have to appreciate you, and we have to go. We appreciate you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, and may the soul of KK rest in peace.
Thank you so much. And to all the viewers, we end our discussion here. My guest has been Judith Kapijinmpanga, Zambia's High Commissioner to India. She's been speaking to us live from New Delhi, India, giving the submission regarding the death of our founding father, President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who died on June 7th, 2021. Allow me to appreciate my camera person in the studio, Christopher, and also upstairs there, Gabriel Mulenga, and others who appreciate you. Thank you so much. My name is Innocent Piri. Allow me to say, may God bless you, may God bless Mother Zambia, and indeed the entire African continent. Good night.
Zambia's two most favorite fruits, mango and guava, now available all year round. Californian mango and Californian guava, the delightful real fruit juices from the makers of Fruity.
A quality product of California Beverages. Presenting Mr. Money!
Send cash and get cash right now from overseas. With international money transfer, it's just a breeze. Receive cash from across Africa at cool rates, and receive cash from other networks across states. You can cross borders at any time with your local Airtel line. So many deals with Airtel Money. It's your time. Mr. Money, he knows it all money. He knows it all. From Canada to Australia to Saudi Arabia, South Africa to America. Get cash in your area. Send and receive money from most countries in Africa with international money.